I want to go back to the graveyard of forgotten favorites. Our archives. By the way, one thing I think this is important. Doesn't mean anything now. It does not have the force, power, or anything. But the 4 justices who dissented, Scalia, Alito, Thomas, Kennedy, made it plain in their dissent that there was nothing constitutional about this act. They found nothing in it. They plainly said in their dissent, the whole thing should have been tossed out. You can't have a greater divide than what we had. You got the 4 libs who's, it's never even considered that they might change their tune. And you have the Chief Justice, who we know now, I think, is a creature of the Washington establishment. A creature of the notion that government is the center of the universe. It's pretty obvious. But the 4 justices who dissented, they didn't even want to get into the idiosyncrasies of the majority opinion. They found the whole thing tossable. Now, I want to go back to March of 2007. We've played this bite before. If you haven't heard it, I want you to hear it. Nothing has changed. It's Barack Obama speaking to employees or union members, the Service Employees International Union. The unions want and wanted single-payer health care, national health care, government pay it all, government provide everything. They wanted it overnight. They've wanted it for a long time. Here's Obama. He's campaigning for president. This is during the primary, the run-up to the primary, trying to get their votes. He's trying to tell them he knows what they want. He's telling them he knows and he agrees he wants what they want, but he's telling them how it must happen.
My commitment is to make sure that we've got universal health care for all Americans by the end of my first term as president. I would hope that we can set up a system that allows those who can go through their employer to access a federal system or a state pool of some sort. But I don't think we're going to be able to eliminate employer coverage immediately. There's going to be potentially some transition process. I can envision a decade out or 15 years out or 20 years out.
These are the people he doesn't lie to. These are the people he tells the truth to. The union people. His number one donors, supporters. I'm going to get universal health care by the end of my first term, but we're not going to be able to eliminate employer coverage immediately. I want to. Eliminating employer coverage is the key. Getting rid of you having health insurance through your job, that's the ultimate goal. It's what he was telling them 5 years ago. He told them we can't do it overnight. It's going to take some time. And the reason for that is that if people find out there's going to be opposition to it. We have to structure it in such a way that the people have no choice in the matter. We have to structure it in such a way so that turning to the government is the only option they've got. And that's why the fines, i.e. the taxes, are much lower starting out than the cost of the premium. They want people to pay the fine. They want young people and others to pay the fine rather than buy the policy. They want employers to offload their coverage. They want this. That's why the fines are so small at first, to make that happen. That way, when it happens, guess who you end up hating? You hate your employer. You get mad at your employer. And guess who you end up loving? Government. Your savior. Your salvation. Your mean, rotten to the core employer canceled your coverage because he doesn't care about you. All he cares about is profit. And he saw a chance to offload your health program instead pay just a cheap little fine. Doesn't care about you, doesn't care about your family, doesn't care about your health care, only cares about himself. But then there's a light. way down at the end of the tunnel. And it's the light of Obama. And even though your mean, rotten to the core boss decided to cancel your health insurance, guess who's there to help you out? Government. And you, at the end of this process, are to be thanking God for government. Because without government, you might get sick and die. Or you might get sick and go bankrupt before you die. That's the plan. It's how they think. It's how they strategize. And it's the plan that has been implemented, and now it has been found constitutional. And the way they get there is the power now to tax what you don't do. And that is by health insurance. This is taxing your behavior, whatever they want to end up taxing in the future. No more complicated than that. No limits. I asked Snerdley as just a little exercise during the break. I said, hey, Bo, stop and think for a minute. Tell me, what are the federal taxes that you pay right now? Let's see. Income, right? Property. No, those are state, local. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Income. Well, you got user fees out there at the national parks. Yeah. Gasoline. Yeah. Point is not a whole lot. And it took an amendment to the Constitution to authorize the income tax. It took an amendment to the Constitution to authorize the income tax. Now, just to put into perspective what's happened today, without a constitutional amendment, the government can tax anything now. Not just your income and not just the sleigh ride at Jellystone Park. And not just gasoline, not just a user fee for walking into Yosemite or whatever. Now, my friends, it's your behavior. Whether Obamacare is tossed out, repealed, or not. Now, a lot of court experts. By the way, here's the dissent quote. Kennedy said he and the other justices in the minority wanted to strike down the entire law. In our view, the entire act before us is invalid in its entirety. That's Justice Kennedy. The entire act before us is invalid in its entirety. This is the first time I think I've ever agreed with a Kennedy on health care. Now, a lot of court experts are saying that the dissent actually reads like a majority opinion, but with criticism of the actual majority tacked on at the last minute. In other words, the dissent, this is speculation. These are these so-called court experts looking, they're now reading both opinions, and they say, this dissent sounds like it was the majority opinion, like it started out as the majority opinion. And some of these court watchers are now saying it looks like Roberts was somehow convinced to switch sides along the way. This is just gossip, interesting for the sake of it. But back in May, there were rumors floating around relevant legal circles that a key vote was taking place, that Roberts was feeling tremendous pressure from unidentified circles to vote to uphold the mandate. And that's all they were. They were just rumors. I don't know who was applying the pressure. I don't even know if it's true. It's just gossip. This is the kind of stuff you can expect a lot of in the aftermath. Yeah, what do you mean, no? Well, okay, Snerdley reminds me, you're talking about Leahy? Senator Leahy went to the floor of the Senate and did, you might say, threaten Justice Roberts. There were senators that went to the floor. It was unprecedented. There were really intimidating things said. We reported on them this week, in fact. Intimidating things said about and to Justice Roberts. And I remember the reaction, he's not going to care about that. Rush, come on now. It's the Chief Justice Supreme Court. That stuff happens all the time. You're going to be reading about this kind of gossip. But you probably will see it intensify as the afternoon and evening wear on that Roberts switched. This is a theory. Remember now, everybody thought the mandate was going down. Everybody did. The media was writing stories on what a worthless court this was. Roger Simon at Politico. There was really intense. All last week and early in this week, everybody thought it was history. That's why there was utter shock. This wasn't the only decision. Are you ready for this? The Supreme Court struck down the Stolen Valor Act today. Do you know what the Stolen Valor Act is? This is essentially, the Supreme Court just said it's perfectly fine to lie about medals and awards that you received in combat. Supreme Court today struck down the Stolen Valor Act, saying that the First Amendment defends a person's right to lie, even if that person is lying about awards and medals won through military service. In 6-3 decision, Supreme Court justices said today that, as written, the Stolen Valor Act is too broad and ignores whether the liar is trying to materially gain anything through his or her false statement. That would make it more akin to fraud. So if your neighbor starts running around saying he got the Medal of Freedom, Medal of Honor, Purple Heart, whatever, perfectly fine. He can go make a fake medal. He can hang it around. It's perfectly no problem. Now, if he tries to make money off of, well, no, he can still do it. The justices said that only if these liars were trying to profit materially would they have struck down the law. But the First Amendment gives them the total right, the freedom to lie about. I know. You can make it up. You can literally go out and you can make it up. Purple Heart, Medal of Freedom, Medal of Honor, whatever. If you out, I don't know, there might be hope for Sandusky. It depends. I don't know if they legalize pedophilia or not. We have to wait and see if it's in the health care bill. Got to take a break. We got more of your phone calls coming, folks, on the other side of our obscene profit timeout here.